send it to me. I have no vanity about that. I don't think these are perfect, but and I'll explain my little handouts later. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started, because we do have a short period of time that I do want to get some hands-on here.
Would you please pronounce your last name one more time?
I will pronounce my last name, but please don't call me by that simply because I'm looking around and look for my dad. Sejcek. And if anybody is of Russian descent or knows Russian, it's derived from the Russian word Zaychik, which means I'm named after a rabbit. Don't ask me, ask my grandfather about that one at some point. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I'm going to go through the PowerPoints. I wrote these primarily for my own edification for when I teach this at my college. I'm going to use these same things in my A+ class. I'm going to go through the slides very quickly. There's a handout with all the slides on them. The CDs have the slides, the PowerPoint. Again, feel free to use them. Anything I produce is absolutely available, and you can take and use whatever you feel like. Okay, so this is something I always talk about at the beginning of a demonstration or a class, because there's another phrase to this, but I'm not going to use it because it's politically incorrect. So I always say rule one, tell them what you're going to tell them. So what we're going to talk about today, actually what we're going to do, I really want you guys to do hands-on. Windows 7, how many of you are teaching an A+ class? Anybody? A couple of you are an A+. How many of you are using or are teaching anything about Windows as in Windows 7 in your other classes? Okay. Windows 7, if you've been working with XP for a number of years, Windows 7 is good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very, very good. Is it better than Windows XP? That depends on what your attitude means by better. It's subjective. But it is the future. It is where Microsoft has gone. If we're not teaching it, if we're not using it, we're doing a disservice to our students. I do want to talk a little bit about what's so different about Windows 7 as opposed to the 2000 XP world. I'm going to kind of skip over Vista, or better known as Windows NE version 2. Now what I really want to do is show you some hands-on things you can do in your classroom about it. And then some of the pitfalls that you encounter with Windows 7, that if you're not aware that you're going to be involved with it. Now, I hope Sam shows up a little bit later, because yesterday Sam told me a really cool thing that I'm going to add to my little sheet, and that is go ahead and turn off user access control, because even Microsoft thinks it's a piece of crap. And they bypass it in all of their software. And Sam had a brilliant definition of it. Kevin Mitnick, I don't know if you've heard the name, he published, there's a YouTube video, he blows through user access control like a hot knife through butter. So it's like, well, that turned out to be a real good security feature. Okay, so first of all, opportunities to excel. The new interface is very different. I don't know if you were used, it's similar enough to Windows XP so that you're not completely lost, but it is completely different. If you're using Vista, of course it's closer to Vista. It is different. Microsoft says it is better. I don't know if it is or not, but I'm spending more time looking for Vista, or looking for things in Windows XP, or I'm sorry, Windows 7 than I ever did in Vista and XP. It's funny.
I'll just say yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Bill, do you want the webcam?
Absolutely.
Or, okay. So.
Absolutely. I have no vanity. I have no.
Yeah, there's a lot of handouts.
Give me 1 second just to catch up here. Is that good? Okay. Can I go back to my slide, or do you need to stay up?
Yes, that's what you can do.
Now, here's something interesting. If you've used Windows XP or 2000, you all know that there was no logic to the way Microsoft designed the user interface. None whatsoever. But we got used to it. Guess what? In Windows 7, there's still no logic. Where they put things, how they put things, they think they've got an idea, but it's still absolutely illogical. But it's a different illogical. They completely changed it. And also, Microsoft has taken away some of our favorite shortcuts. So we've had to find new tricks, tips, and hints. And that's what I'm going to teach in this short session. I'm going to show you some of those. Not so much Windows 7. We're not going to get into the nuts and bolts and all of that. I primarily want to get you through some of the stuff that is kind of really cool to be able to do. So very quickly, and I mean very quickly, I'm going to go through some of the improvements that Microsoft has added to Windows 7. We all know Windows 7 is supposed to be the most secure version of Windows ever produced. But again, I would say that is relative. You know. So again, it's no secret that Windows XP could easily hack, and again, Sam loves to prove that. Windows Vista strives for tight security. The tighter the security, the less usable it was. Windows 7 or Windows Vista drove people crazy because it's, in fact, I love the Mac commercial, the Mac Apple commercials with the guy in the black suit. You know, it's a hilarious commercial. Windows 7 has hit sort of the sweet spot to the difference between usability and security, at least the modicum of security that Microsoft wants to add. 4 foundations of security you can tell your students about. It's a more fundamentally secure platform. They have tried to secure the kernel better. Secure anywhere. Now that is actually has improved. It has made it more a less of a surface area of attack on the networks. Protect user and infrastructure. Protect data from unauthorized viewing. And these were all taken directly from some of the Microsoft support sites. So, you know, I kind of gleaned some of this and just kind of, you can present this to your students and say, hey, this is the cool stuff about Windows 7. File management. Windows Explorer is much better in terms of how it looks at the network. But if you're comfortable with Windows Explorer, you're going to hate the new one. With the old Windows Explorer, because again, everything's wrong, everything's in the wrong place, nothing does it what it used to do. We're actually going to show you some ways to make it look a little bit more like the old Windows Explorer that we're kind of more comfortable with. Performance improvement, I have seen that. That is one thing I can attest to, is that even though you need a beefier hardware platform to run Windows 7 than you did with XP, once you get that platform, Windows 7 does run snappier. The desktop environment, I don't know if you're interested in it. My opinion is very simple. The new Microsoft paradigm is make it look like a Mac. If we can get it to look like a Mac, that's what we want. I mean, isn't that wild? That we're not going to say that, but that's what I think what they're intending to. Anyway, Arrow Peak. If you have the video and the processing capability to support Arrow Peak, it looks really cool. It makes the screen a little bit snappier, a little more colorful, etc. The taskbar has scaling, a lot better scaling. You have some more features in the taskbar than you had before. The gadgets are still there. Unlike Windows Vista, though, you have to turn on the gadgets, which actually is an improvement because some people like them, and if so, they're there. And a lot of people didn't like them, and if so, you don't have to worry about it. And the theme customization is very cool. Again, if you like your desktops, all kinds of cool environments.
What's the Arrow Peak again, please?
Arrow Peak is Microsoft's display architecture that, for example, it has translucent windows. You know how in Windows XP traditionally, you have a window and a window. They're blocked. What you can do is you can translucently kind of see what's behind. So you can move things around. Also, it has the ability, you can shake things, you can shake windows, and you can organize. It makes the desktop more easily manageable.
It's fade in, fade out, something like that.
Yeah, and it's all kinds of cool things. You know, again, make it look like a Mac as it goes. Okay, networking. This is one of the things I think Microsoft has done the best job. They've really improved the protocol stack within Windows 7 at the expense of people who got to know and love the stack in Windows. I still can't find things. I still got to play click, click, click. Okay, where was this? How do I get to that? How do I set the IP address? You can do it, but you got to figure out, okay, you can't simply go to the properties of an icon and but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. But it has much better network management and control. I'm running Windows 7 on my desktop at home. I have 4 NAS boxes in my office at my house, you know, little tiny NAS boxes. Boom, pops up, sees them right away. And with the proper security on them, I can access them. I don't have to go in. I don't have to put in the IP addresses. I don't have to run an FTP server. You know, it just sees it and it works. It's very, very nice. Printing, this I love. Now, I do some consulting in the industry. I keep my hand in the game. I keep a few clients. I do some stuff out there. Where I've really found this is cool is that, let's say you have a network-attached printer. Let's say an HP LaserJet that has a network card in it. If that printer is on the network with an appropriate IP address, Windows 7 sees it. You no longer have to install the server, the print server for a network. It really, really did improve it. I do like the way they did printing. Also with location-aware printing, if you take a laptop from one location to another, it remembers where you are and what printers you have at that location. So again, it has some really cool features. They really wanted, I think what Microsoft was striving for was how to make a laptop experience better. Again, it seems silly, but that's where it was going, mobility. And so I think we're seeing a lot of that in the Windows 7 world. Okay, so that's my presentation, side of it. Now let's get our hands a little bit dirty with this, if that's okay. What I want to do is kind of explain to you what we're going to be doing and show you the forms I've created and some of the other stuff. And then I'm going to kind of work with you guys, and I'll kind of do it up here, and then you can see what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is I have a document. If you didn't grab one, did anybody not get a copy of my stuff up here? The first document I want to kind of show to you guys for you to have, and I'll have extras if you want to take any. As I mentioned, I do consulting in the industry, and one of the things that drove me absolutely nuts was I would be installing a Windows. Now, I started this with Windows 2000 when I started doing Windows 2000. You know, I'd start to install a system, I'd start to install utilities or applications and do Windows setups and X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden I get called away to do something else. So it might take me 2 or 3 days to finish a Windows setup. Not that it took that long, but it just, because I'd have to stop and do other things. And I'd forget, okay, did I configure that? Or did I change that? Or what software did I install? So what I started to do was create a little form that just simply reminds me of where I'm at. Now, I have expanded and extended this form out over the last 10 years or so. This is the latest and greatest. This one actually has Windows 7. I'm not going to go through the whole form. I don't have the time, but just very briefly, the first page of the form covers the hardware of a particular computer. You can see pretty much what it is. You can fill out what the hardware is. And again, I recommend doing this. Give this to your IT people at your school as well, or friends or whatever. It's electronic form. I've got it on that CD I handed out to you guys, and it's up there if you want it. And I will keep updating this, and I will be putting this on my open website. I have a website that is available that is not part of the school. Well, it's part of the school, but it's open to the outside world. I always post the latest versions of this. So the first page covers all of the hardware that is on a particular system. The second page is your basic configuration of the Windows environment. Now you can see I have 2 boxes. What you'll see occasionally on my system, you'll see 2 boxes like that and some text. Here's the way I've done this, because this is the way I've been doing this for years. When I'm setting up a system, I will usually put an X in the right box to indicate I need to install this or I need to do this. Then once, and I'll go through that before I start the installation. Once I complete the installation, okay, I've done that. So that way when I go back here, I can reference it. Like for example, I would put the X saying I'm going to install Windows. I'll put an X by the 7, and then in the side I'll put in Ultimate Edition, Professional Edition, Home Edition, or whatever. And this is generic for any version of Windows. And by the way, this documentation form I have, the Excel spreadsheet, I have a separate configuration sheet for Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 2000, and there's even one for servers. So again, feel free to use it and ask for changes if you like. I have a configuration for your IP addresses. That's pretty straightforward. Workstation name or workstation convention. Now, if Sam was here, he'd kill me for this one. But if you're going to use a user password, I know it's absolutely against every security policy ever written to write down the password. But if I don't write it down somewhere, there's no way I'm going to remember it 10 years from now. And my customers will never remember it. My students will never remember it. And again, if you feel uncomfortable, don't write it down. Simple as that. And then I indicate here, am I going to install service packs, and if so, which one? Am I going to install the hot fixes, and have I done it? And then the same thing for drivers that are needed for the hardware and codecs that are needed. Now these codecs, anything you see here, are what I have used over a period of time and have found very handy to use. Third page simply shows you the utilities and applications. Now all of the utilities I have listed, these are not required. Of course, none of this is required. But these are utilities that I have found and used. Now I forgot to put, my mistake, I was going to put all of these utilities on the CD I handed out to you. They are on the desktop of all your workstations. There's a little folder called Utilities. If you have a flash drive, go ahead and they're on the main desktop, not the virtual machine desktop. Make a copy of it and take them. All of the utilities here are either open source or they are free. Not one of these utilities requires any kind of a paid license. The only caveat is a couple of them, like EarthenView, is for non-commercial use only, but non-commercial includes colleges. You can use them in your educational institution. But the licenses are very specific. All of this is either PD, open source, or free software. I give it out to all my students, and it's the software I use. I use this all the time. It has just about everything from video viewers, picture viewers, PDF converters, etc., etc. The applications, obviously Office, but I'm not specifically to Microsoft Office. If you happen to like OpenOffice, no problem there. Okay, but where we really want to get into is the next page, the next couple of pages. These are the Windows 7 configuration hints, tips, and tricks. These are everything I have found makes Windows 7 work a little bit better. Like, for example, putting my glasses on, and I know that's rude. But like, for example, in the desktop properties, how do you want your view? And you can specify, you can write in the view you want, what type of desktop icons you want on your desktop. I'll walk through some of these with you guys, and you can see how it works. Display properties, taskbar, these are all the things we use to set up. So on the next 2 pages is everything that I have gone through with Windows 7. I picked up some good stuff on the web. I've gone through a whole bunch of cool stuff as well. And I've tried to incorporate as much as I have found. And again, I'm looking forward to you guys finding more cool stuff, and you tell me about it. And we'll get this disseminated out in the world. The next page after that one is your settings for Internet Explorer and Firefox. I will be adding another category down underneath it for Safari and Chrome. I use Firefox almost exclusively, but everybody's telling me, I've got to start using Chrome, got to start using Chrome. Okay, so I just have to start playing with it. The next 2 pages, or the last set of pages, are primarily options. I don't generally use these, but sometimes you can change some things in your group policies. These are very, very high-end stuff that you use mostly in corporate-style networks. You don't generally tell your students about it. It works great on a Windows server if you're going to use group policy objects as part of Active Directory. If you have a computer like I have at home, I've got this one computer that people look at me and go, you are out of your friggin' mind. Because I got like 9 hard drives in it. Because I like to experiment with stuff, so I put all kinds. I put IDE drives, SATA drives. I tried RAID 0 drives. I have RAID 1 drives. I even have a RAID 5 set up in there for some things. So if you have extra hard drives, it's just extra pages. And the same thing with extra utilities if you run out of room that there is. Okay, so that's my form. What I'd like to do, and I'm going to ask you to join me with this. If you've already opened up, or if you already see your, hold on 1 second. The machine I thought was fixed up here. It isn't. If you'll go ahead and just open up your VMware player, you should see a basic clean install of Windows 7. All I've done on Windows 7 is a basic install with nothing else there. This is what you would get is if you just ran the install off the CD, DVD, and set it up and haven't done a thing. So now we're ready to start. Now the first thing you'll probably want to do is wait for my system to come up. This is awful when the instructor machine isn't there. But while we're waiting for that, you guys can go ahead. There's no login. What I'd like you guys to do is go to that 4th page where I have it, where it says Windows 7 Setups, and look at some of the features that I've added here. For example, go into the desktop properties. For those of you that haven't done that, it's real simple. Go anywhere on the desktop, right-click, and go to Personalize. Not Properties. They changed it. Used to be called Personal Properties. Now it's Personalize. And start to go through all of the settings. Take a look at the Personalize the desktop. Change the view. Look at some of those things. How would you change it? And as soon as my system comes up here, and I got to just install the tools really quick, but go ahead and start on that, and while my machine is coming up to speed, I'll kind of walk around and see how you're doing with it for just a couple of seconds. Now while you're doing that, one of the 2 major things I want to do in the short 20 minutes that we have left is, I think we ran out of a couple of things. There were a couple of sheets. One is how to copy a configured user profile to a default user, and how to change the default user profile, or how to change the user profile locations. How many of you in Windows XP would take the profile, you create a dummy user, set up the profile the way you like it, set up the desktop, the background, the icons, the pictures, everything the way you wanted it. Then you would copy that dummy profile over to the default profile, and then anytime a new user was created, they would get the new profile. Has anybody ever tried that? A couple of you? Guess what? You can't do it in Windows 7. According to Microsoft. I found it true. Well, Microsoft actually says the way you need to do it is you need to create an unattended install using sysprep, and it's a horrible set of instructions. It works, by the way, but it's not an easy set of instructions to do. But the reason that Microsoft says you can't do it is because you do all the same things you used to do, except when you go to your dummy profile and you click on the copy to, it's grayed out. Well, there's a little utility, and it's on the DVD called Windows Enabler. It's a little program, just an executable. It doesn't install anything. What it does is it turns on any grayed out button. That's one of the things I want to do today with us. I want us to go through that, how to set that up. And then, how many of you like where Windows puts the default users? Whether it be Windows XP or Windows 7 or Windows Vista, they put them on the C drive. Well, I don't know about your classes or your clients or your own computer, and Sam would be the first one to tell us this. If you get nailed by a virus, the drive that's going to get hit the hardest is the C drive. I use my C drive strictly for programs, applications, and utilities. I create a second partition on the hard drive, or a second hard drive, if you will. That's where I put all my data. That way, if somebody, and then you can image your C drive. So what I do, if you don't mind my writing up here a second, I'll take my physical hard drive and split it. Now again, how much you want to split? I use it roughly half and half, or if it's a really, really big drive, maybe 50 gigs for C and then the remainder. But I will make this C drive, applications, programs, utilities, temp files, etc., etc. This is where I put my data And I will also use it for my imaging. I use Ghost or an equivalent. You can use Acronis, you can use Clonezilla. There's a lot of cloning utilities. Microsoft now has one in Windows 7. Their new backup is basically a cloner. And I'll put my images out here as well. I'll put downloads. I'll do all kinds of stuff. But in Windows XP, you could very easily change the location of the My Documents folder by simply going into the properties of My Documents and changing the letter. It took about 2 seconds. And it was easy. You can change the location once you create the user. But you have to change it for every single file in the profile. The documents, the pictures, the images, the movies, the videos, take some time. Much better. Put your user's folder on a second drive and then point Windows to tell it that's the new location for the profiles. Again, that is actually documented by Microsoft, but they bury it in their documentation. So I've given you the instructions on how to do that. Those are the 2 things I'd like you guys to do today specifically. Oh, you didn't get into so many things. Go ahead. Okay, what we do is just here's something. And you're off. Okay, sorry about that. Somebody told me I've got to stop drinking coffee before I do a presentation. Okay, so if you're playing around with some of the desktop settings, that's great. What I want to do is as soon as the tools get installed up here, I want to start by first showing you how to change how to change the user profile location. So we'll go through the steps here. It's very, very easy. Even if you're not comfortable with doing regedit, I don't know how many of you have ever messed around with the registry editor. This is not something, again, caveat. Screwing with the registry through the regedit can destroy your system if you're not careful. Nice thing in a virtual environment, who cares, right? Try this before you try this, back up your system. But once you kind of get the hang of it, it's very, very easy to do. You're only changing a couple of settings, and it's extremely simple. So while it's coming up, if you have your Windows 7 open, let's go ahead and open Windows Explorer. Again, this will take, on my system, this will take just a moment. You don't mind if I sit down? Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah.
Are we going to use VMware on here?
Yes.
Mine got closed.
Oh, okay. If you close your VMware, let's open it back up again. By the way, you can do it on the live machine, except we don't have the second partition. Yeah, I was just checking. Okay. Has everybody else got their virtual machine? Now, the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use one of the tools to create our second hard drive. Now, one of the things that was asked to me earlier is, why are you teaching this to students in Windows in an A+ class? Because we've got to be teaching A+ stuff. We've got to be teaching students to pass the A+ test. Guess what? If you look at the requirements, if you looked at the objectives of the A+, if you walk your students through all this stuff on the sheets and this, you've taught them everything there is to know about, or that there is going to be on the A+ objectives. But you've taught it in a way that's not just, the book says you've got to know how to do this, 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 and this. But you've shown them from a practical standpoint how to do it. I have found that the students started by saying, but you're not teaching us. I said, trust me. Now go take the A+ test. And it's like, oh. Because now there's a context that they can do it in. Okay, so if everybody has their Windows 7 machine open, And mine will be in just a second, fortunately. VMs boot pretty quick. Go ahead and find the icon on the there should be an icon on your desktop. I don't know if there is on yours. I think there is. That has the My Computer on it. If not, which may not, we're going to go to Control Panel.
Which computer?
I'm sorry, in your virtual machine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all on the virtual machine.
Okay.
You could do it from the host machine as well. But the host machine, you'd have to go in and shrink the volume and something else. And oh, there it is. Okay. So if you have not done so already, you may want to there we go. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to click on Start. Then I'm going to go to Control Panel. From the Control Panel, I want you to change the view from category to small or large icons, just because it's much easier to use the Control Panel if you see all of the tools in front of you. From there, go to Administrative Tools. So, Control Panel, change the view, go to Administrative Tools, find the Administrative Tools for Computer Management. And if you get lost, I'll be happy to come around and help you with it. Okay, click your little Start button. By the way, it's no longer called the Start button. It's the Windows flag. And then we're going to change it from category. I know. Like I said, it's just as illogical, but it's differently illogical.
Another quick way to get to it is if you go to the Windows logo button and then right-click on the computer and go straight to Manager.
And you go straight to Manager. Yeah, I'm just showing you the way. This is, by the way, the way I'm showing you is the way you have to do it in the A+ test. This is the way they expect you to know how to do it in A+. That's why I do it this way. Oh, I can give you about 15 shortcuts to do everything. From there, I want you to select, from the Computer Management, I want you to select the Disk Management icon. So again, Control Panel, change the view from category to either small or large icons, find your Administrative Tools. Once your Administrative Tools is open, click the Disk Management. Did everybody get to that point? You'll notice there is a big unallocated area of space. When I installed or when I created this, I created a roughly 30 gigabyte partition or drive in virtual machine. I'm only using 20 gig of it for Windows. And I left this specifically unallocated so you guys can get to do what I'm going to show you right now. This is, again, this is something you'd see and you want your students to know on A+. If you right-click on the unallocated volume, come over to where it says New Simple Volume, click Next. Now again, if you don't want to use the whole thing, don't. But I say use the whole thing for now. Click Next. It's going to pick up a drive letter, in this case E. Click Next. You can give it a volume label, or this I've never understood. Why do they give it New Volume? Just leave it blank. Click Next and finish. And I'll walk through to see if anybody's. Oh no, I just want to make sure. Okay, you're on the host.
Yeah. Should we perform a quick format check?
Pardon me?
Perform a quick
format. By the way, in a virtual machine, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're identical. But on a real live hard drive,
it would wipe it out.
Do a quick format. Because if you do a full format, all it does is it wipes the fat table and then just checks all the sectors. So it can take anywhere from 15 minutes to 15 hours. Quick format, a couple of minutes at the most. Okay, did everybody kind of catch up with me? Okay, now we have the two partitions. Close all your windows. Close everything. So you're back to your original Windows screen. Is everybody back there? Good. So now we're ready to perform the instructions. So if you kind of have the sheet, let's follow along, the one that says how to change the default user profile location. I don't have a lot of time left, so we may not be able to get to the second one. I'm hoping we can. Okay, so is everybody ready? Okay, first thing. We need to open Windows Explorer, the File Manager, whatever you want to call it. In Windows 7, they've now given us a little icon on the taskbar. Now that is actually good. That was never included in Windows XP. Windows XP, you either had My Computer on the desktop, or you had to add it, or you had to right-click. But now they actually give you a file management icon right on the taskbar. So open the taskbar. Come over here to where it says Computer, and open the Computer icon. You'll see your local disk C and local disk E. See them? Right. Open up your local disk E. Folder is empty. We're going to create a folder. Now everybody should know how to create a folder in Windows. And by the way, this is the same from Windows 2000, XP, Vista, and 7. If you right-click and go to New, right-click on the empty folder, go to New, go to Folder. Now, I don't want to use the name new folder. I want to call it something specific. So, I like the word Users. Users make sense. Call it Users.
That should be clear. On which? Okay.
Okay. Oh, you haven't done that. Okay, let's do and call it Users. Okay, so did everybody catch up with me? Okay, a couple of minutes and we'll do the best we can. Can I spend maybe just a minute or two extra? Okay. Okay, so from here, we're ready. So we've created a users folder. Now all we need to do is to copy the two critical files from the users folder that Microsoft wants us to use on the C drive to the users folder we just created. There are two folders. One that has default. That's the default user. The other that's public. Those two have to get moved. Actually, they have to get copied. You could move them. I don't suggest moving them. Copy them, do all your settings, get everything working, and then you can delete them after the fact from the C drive. And the instructions are all there for you. So what I'd like you to do now, if you still have your computer open, let's go back to the C drive. Make sure your computer is open by just simply clicking the little arrow. Come down to where it says C drive. There's your users folder. Now if you open your users folder, you will notice there will be two files, one called public and one called template. And you go, wait. You said there's users and default. Where's default? Hidden. They hid the damn thing. Oh, dang, we have to open it. We have to unhide it. Now, if you've gone through some of my steps in the other part, you'll see that the unhiding is part of that, but it's very easy to unhide files, to show hidden files. Now, in the Windows Explorer in 7, what's missing? The view, yeah. Although the view's right here. View's right here. The menu bar. The menu bar is missing in Windows 7 Explorer. No, it isn't. It's just not displayed. See what I mean? The logic of Microsoft. They took something that we all loved and took it out because somebody decided they didn't like it. You can put it back in, and it is very simple, and I have it in my instructions. And there we are. Okay, this is how you put your menu bar back. Follow along with me for 1 second. In Windows Explorer, see where it says Organize? Click on it. Come down to Layout. And guess what? Uncheck.
That's okay.
Menu bar.
That's not intuitive.
Oh, if it was intuitive, it wouldn't be Microsoft. So now we have our menu bar: File, Edit, View, Tools, Help. We have what we want. So,
is that across all Windows now?
Yeah. So, still with me? Click on Tools and come down to Folder Options. Click the View button, click the View tab, and this looks familiar. Everybody that's done this in Windows XP has seen this a gazillion times. People who have gotten used to Windows 7 can't find it. I mean, you can find it off the Control Panel. You go to Control Panel, Folder Options, and all that. Show Hidden Files, Folders, and Drives. Click that. Apply it. And your choice or not to apply it to all folders or not to. If you don't apply it to all folders, it at least will show it for the folder that we need to get to. But I like to apply to all folders, so I would go ahead and do that. So again, quick review. Once you've got the Tools menu, come down and go to Folder Options, which brings up this window. Click the View tab, Show Hidden Files, Folders, and Drives. Apply it, apply to all folders, and close. Yes?
The hide empty drives in the computer folder.
Yes.
Is that why one's CD drive seems to disappear from time to time?
Exactly. But you can turn it back
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, these are the hints, tips, and tricks. Microsoft changed things, ostensibly to make it easier. Yeah, exactly. Okay, now, computer, local disk, users, and look who we have. Default and public. Got it? Take those two files. Take those two files. I'm sorry, those two folders, excuse me. By the way, they're the same. A file and a folder in Microsoft is the same. But, tomato, tomato. Now we want to copy these. Now again, I recommend copy, not move, although supposedly the move will work. I've tried it, but unless you're really careful not to reboot halfway in between this process or get your computer crashed, you'll lose everything. So it's better to copy it make your registry changes, and then delete it after. Or just leave them there. You can leave them there forever and ever and ever, doesn't matter. But I'm going to copy these files to the user's folder that we just created. That's what I'm saying here in step 1. Copy the original default profile to your new location. So I'm going to right-click and go copy. Right-click on those 2 folders, copy it, go back to my D drive, which I just created. Oh, I'm sorry, E drive, which I just created. There's my users, and I'm going to right-click and paste. What have I done? I've just copied 2 folders from the C drive to the D drive.
Folder stop directly and then find the content.
Yes. Folder and directory are synonymous terms.
Folder and directory
are synonymous.
Yes, that's what I was.
Yes.
So folder and file are synonymous.
Well, you want the official technical description? They are the same because they're just an entry in the file allocation table. The difference is a folder is an object that contains things. It's definitionally slightly different, but in terms of the file, now the reality of it is to take all the technical junk out of it that I just said. Folders contain files. Files are what, like Word documents.
Exactly what you want.
Like I said, it's how you want to lose your students. You want to see that deer in the headlight look, explain that to them. If you don't want to see the deer in the headlight look, just simply say, yes, folders are what contain files, files are what contain content. Go with it, what you meant. Okay, so far. Now we've done, believe it or not, the hard part. That's the hardest part. The next part is simply changing the registry to reflect this change. The problem is if you mess this up, you screw up Windows. This is why, because you're messing up with the registry. But it's a very minor mess up. Back it up or make an image of your hard drive, either way. So, if you'll follow along with me, we are on step number 3. What I'd like to do really quick is click on your little menu option. And here, by the way, notice the run is gone. Guess what? You can put it back. If you follow my instructions, you can get run back into your menu. But click on Start. Here where it says Search for Programs and Files, simply type in regedit. R-E-G-E-D-I-T. Regedit. Enter. You will receive the UAC warning that says you're about to do something that is potentially dangerous. Say yes. How many of you have never gone in and mucked up with your registry a little bit? Anybody ever not gone into a registry? Okay. I'm not going to go into a big, long registry description, other than this was the one thing we were praying Microsoft would change in Windows 7. Get rid of the registry once and for all. I think the registry is here for the rest of our lives. Enough said about it. The trick is navigating. Notice in my handout I've given you the pathway. So it's HT local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows NT, current version, Pro. It's drilling down, it's just drilling down a list. So go to HT local machine and open it. We'll do this and then that'll be it for today. So go to HT local machine, then open up the software folder. Treat it as though it was a Windows Explorer folder. Think of these as folders. Go down to Microsoft. Scroll down to where it says Windows NT. Open up current version. You might have to expand out that window a little bit. Open up profile list. And here you will see these are where Microsoft expects those files to reside. So you'll see that the default is system drive. System drive is C. Profiles directory. Program data, public. Now on the back side I'm saying these are what you want to change. you're going to change this one default, this one directory, and this one public. We're going to change it from system drive to the drive letter we just created. What drive letter? E. Double click on it. Take out where it says system drive, replace it with E:. Case doesn't matter, but I'm a little bit anal retentive about stuff like that. Notice it's been changed. Do the same thing for profiles directory and public. Change it to E:. Same with public. Close all the windows. Reboot your computer. You have now moved the user's folder. Okay. I do not have the time. I would love to have gone through the creating the profile. That is a lot of fun. I'll be around the rest of the afternoon, obviously. If you want to come back here a little bit later, I'll be happy to walk anybody through that if they'd like to. If you want to catch me at lunch, I'll be, hang out and do this. Thank you. If you need to get a hold of me, there's my contact. Please feel free to email me on any of this material if you have not already collected. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So anyway, feel free. If you need more information, if you want copies of this, they're on the DVD, they're on the desktop. They'll be here the rest of the afternoon. I have a couple of CDs. If you'd like to take an extra copy of this, feel free. Thank you. I know you have another session to go.